Well, hello, hello, and welcome to the Mindset Mentor. I'm Tania Kolar, helping you cultivate a life you love. Your mindset is like a muscle. I'm always stressing that. You got to work at it. And just like we go to the gym and we work out our abs, our biceps, our triceps, our quads, we need to work out our mindset, on a daily basis, even better. So, this is your mindset workout. Today, we're going to focus on energy healing. We're going to talk about energy healing and how it impacts the physical body, emotional health, our spiritual health as well, and also how ways to bring back that optimal health to the body. So it's really important to take control of our health in any way that we can. Again, whether that is the physical aspect or the emotional, the mental, and certainly spiritual well-being. I know a lot of people right now are having a difficult time navigating the whole pandemic. It's not just the emotional, mental stress; it's the physical stress. We're not getting the same exercise. Even people I've talked to some friends who say that, listen, I'm still working out, but I'm gaining weight, and so a lot of it is just that we're not doing the daily little exercise routines that we would get walking to the car, walking into the office, anything, right? So we are stuck. We're a little bit more sedentary. So we need to really get a little bit of help. So I brought in the expert to help us out. Today, my guest is Geraldine Monaco. She is a master energy healer. She also has her own practice, and we're going to talk about that and delve into, all of the wonderful healing modalities and techniques that she offers, but also just to give you an idea of what energy healing is and what the options are for you, because we do have the power and the control to really take action and take charge of our health. And it's more important, I think, now than ever to really get focused on that. So I'm going to say hello and welcome, Geraldine. It's such a pleasure having you on the show today.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for having me, Tanya. Thank you. It's a pleasure
Oh,
to be here.
well, we certainly need your help, Geraldine. The world right now is, I think, in overdrive in terms of the stress levels that so many people are experiencing, whether directly or indirectly through, other family members that people are, suffering. And so I think it's really important that we can, provide some tips and tools on what people can do to manage some of the stress. Obviously, the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects, which I know that you specialize in, you study each of those components. So I want to first talk to you about what is energy healing, because there's so many different healing modalities out there. So specifically, what is energy healing?
Okay, that's a good question. Thank you for asking, first of all. Now, energy healing is everything that brings you back your body to a state of alignment. Okay, now, and when I'm talking about body, I'm talking about your physical body, I'm talking about your emotional body, I'm talking about your mental body, and I'm talking about the spiritual body. Okay, so of course there are different modalities, that goes to preference of people, but it's basically going back to the source.
Mm.
So we all have this innate connection, right? And energy healing actually provides us with a tool to reconnect with our higher self, with the universal force and source. Okay, so when we are aligned, everything starts to roll in the right direction. And again, I'm talking about here not just solely for our physical health, mental health, emotional and spiritual, but also for our life. When we are connected, we start to experience what is called synchronicity.
Mm.
So everything starts to fall into place. We start to experience miracles, right? But miracles are none other than being connected.
Mm.
And being connected, not just solely with our higher self, but with our own self as well, right? So energy healing brings the alignment, working on chakras, work on different layers to bring ourselves back to an optimal state of health.
Wow, I love that. Yeah, it's so interesting because I think so many people are experiencing that misalignment and they don't really understand why life seems to be so tough. We've got the resistance and the
Mhm.
struggle, and I think a lot of that is the fact that we are, out of whack, out of alignment, with the body, with that energy field around us. So, can everybody rebalance that energy field, so to speak, or are they kind of stuck with having to deal with that lack of alignment and the lack of flow and the lack of miracles?
No, absolutely. Everybody has the possibility to go back in alignment, right? Now, the most important thing is just to be open, right? Because when we are open, our energetic body starts to open up. So when we are open to change something, we start to attract different peoples in our life
Mm-hmm.
that can help us in our journey, right? Now, of course, if I look at an energetic body of a client, of anybody, we see that there are some blockages, right? Blockages because we do have a history,
Mm-hmm.
because we have traumas, because we have experienced life, right? So all those blockages, if they are not released from the energy field, become stagnant and become a stagnation also in our own reality.
And so then, having that blocked energy and that stagnation, I would imagine that that's like a barrier to creating and having some of those miracles fall in and drop into your world because there's that resistance, so to speak.
Exactly, exactly. And sometimes, we talk about sometimes, oh, it's a karmic event. It keeps recurring to me. But the karmic event is just energy stagnation that
Hmm.
keeps repeating over a period of time. So when we are going to tackle and clear that stagnation, everything starts to flow and our life starts to open up. Now, we have to considering that our life is a journey, right? From the moment we are coming into this world, we experience life. So we experience positive things, negative things, and all those experiences have an impact on our energetic field.
So, what about, I guess, that some of those experiences that we've had in our life that are what are deemed to be negative experiences? Is it more of a problem moving forward in terms of getting locked into that negative energy and the negative thinking, the negative patterns?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because if you are able to release the blockage in a considerable amount of time, it doesn't create layers of other blockages, right? When we do have different layers, it becomes a very stagnant energy. And I always say to people, when they come to see me, sometimes I see like a big, big dark clouds on their energetic field. And for
Mm-hmm.
me, that is very deep and rooted blockages in their own life, right? If that person would have come maybe, I don't know, 3 years prior, instead of seeing like the black, dark cloud, I would have seen maybe a lighter cloud. So we do a clearing and the situation is resolved. Again, healing in our life goes by layers and layers. So the more we tackle everything that happens, in our life, higher are the chances to clear and have a brighter path ahead of us.
Hmm. That's really interesting. And I love that. And I think it's important to look at our challenges in life as
Absolutely.
opportunities, right, to move past that experience or to learn something about yourself. And I think oftentimes, those big challenges, when we get hit by those big challenges, it's almost like, a good wake up call to say, all right, listen, you've got all this other stored, emotion and trauma. So it needs a little bit of attention. So really pay attention and focus so that you can release some of those layers. Because so many people have gone through life struggling and suppressing emotion. And that suppression, of course, leads to repression. And then that is going to create a lot of discomfort in the body. So I want to talk to you, about your belief in terms of our thoughts linked to the disease or the dis-ease in the body. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's all about energy. Our thoughts create a vibration. our words create a vibration. Our action creates a vibrations, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we put everything together, it creates an energy vibration that could be big or small, could be positive or could be negative. Okay. Now, it is normal and it's also human to have negative thoughts that comes into our mind. But we always have to considering that from, there's a positive and the negative in every situation that we are facing. Right? So if we tackle the challenges in our life with an open heart and say to ourselves, I'm ready to face it, because the situation, the challenges would have come into your life if you weren't ready to face it in the first place. So everything that happens in your life happens at the right time, at the right moment for you. Yes. So having said so, when you have to face certain obstacles, you already know how to overcome those obstacles. It's just because you don't think about it, because maybe they came out totally unexpected.
Yeah, or they just don't feel good.
Or they just don't feel good.
Yeah,
right?
You don't want to go down that path.
Exactly. But we all have deep inside our own heart the capacity to transform everything that happens to our own life. And again, it's a matter of vibration. It's also a matter of perception. How do you perceive it? If something negative, but within that negativity, there's always something positive that always comes out of it.
I agree 100%. I always say that, our biggest challenges in life are really our biggest blessings. It may take a little while to really understand what that reward is, the gift, the blessing, whatever you want to call it. But it certainly is. It's a way to evolve to your best self. And I think it's a beautiful thing. I mean, life is a journey, and we will have the ups and downs, and we will all experience the stresses in life and challenges. And and I think it's really important to start to get a handle of what we can do in terms of seeking the help to get the energy healing. So I want to talk about, if someone is in a state of, discomfort, disease in the body, being out of alignment, as you had mentioned, what is the process? I know that you have your practice, and I'd love to delve into some of the different, types of healing work that you do. But what is the initial assessment, and what does that look like if someone were to just come in and say, "All right, Geraldine, I'm not feeling my optimal health. How can you help me? What would be the next steps?"
Okay, so generally, when someone comes to see me, I kind of scan the body of the person who's in front of me. Again, in terms of physical health, emotional, mental, and spiritual health. Okay. So I see blockages and we start to talk about, I'm seeing, this is happening in your gut, this is happening in your lung, or this is happening in your emotional, in your life related to some emotional challenges, etc. So it's about like 10 minutes where I dive into the energy field of the person to have a sense of what the person needs.
So now then, Geraldine, would you be considered then a medical intuitive, being able to tap into that energy field of a person? How does that work?
Yes and no. In the sense, like medical intuition is something that goes even deeper, okay? And it requires almost like an image, an X-ray of an organ of a person. And right? So, which I do that, okay? If someone comes and has a major issues, it's almost like I have an image in my mind screen and I said, okay, this is what's happening. Your liver has certain issues, or, your stomach, there's some bacteria in your digestive traits, etc. But other time it's just it's just a vibrational pattern that I see on the energetic field of the person, okay? And after maybe 10, 15 minutes that, I dive into their field, we go to the actual healing, which, the person lay down on the bed. It's a hands-off healing, so I'm not going to touch the person. And the majority of the time people fall asleep because it's very relaxing.
Feels good. Wow, we need that. That's
there we go.
Yeah.
So, and the person, of course, feels a physical sensation, tingling, can have a mystical experience or less mystical, depends how open is that person to receive healing. And then at the end of the session, I always give a feedback. Okay, feedbacks in terms of what's happening during the session, the information that I gathered accessing their own energy field, and some suggestion, because again, I'm an intuitive as well, so a lot of information just come.
Wow.
And whatever it comes, I pass the message.
Oh, I love that. It's so fascinating. And so when you do that feedback, is it through the different steps from emotional, physical, spiritual, mental, or do you focus in on one thing, or is it just completely whatever comes to you?
No, I don't focus on one thing, also because it's a holistic practice. So if someone comes and I said, I have issues with my legs, I have a pain in my legs, I'm not going to focus in only on the leg. Right? Because first of all, energy has a higher intelligence. So even if I start to work on the leg because of the pain, I see the energy go somewhere else, and I'm drawn to fix other things of the person. So it's not, a lot of times people come to me and say, oh my God, I came here with a physical pain, and now I feel much more lighter in terms of my trauma that I've experienced with my wife, with my kids, etc. So it's just, I tackle every layers of the field. That makes sense. Okay. So, and it's not me who decide. And I think this is important. It's not me who decide where I want to work. How would I explain this? Is when someone comes, it's almost like divine guided. Right? And I use the term divine without religious connotation here. Okay. And I said earlier, energy has a higher intelligence. So the energy that I'm bringing in, and I'm actually only a vessel, right? The energy that I'm bringing in help the clients to bring his energetic body back to a state of perfect health.
Interesting. So helping to realign, I guess, that energy frequency, right? We're all,
It is a frequency, absolutely.
Yeah, really fascinating stuff. I love that. And I think it's interesting. You talked about how people are, either open to it or they're not. And that's, I would imagine that would that help, would it impact the actual, the outcome? Geraldine?
No, not at all. That's a good point, actually. It doesn't impact the outcome, but impacts how the person feels during the treatment.
Okay.
Because if you're open, you're just there, and I said, okay, I'm floating. I feel like floating. I see beautiful colors. I'm very relaxed, right? Versus someone who comes, even I have a lot of skeptical to come to see me, so it's not really an issue, but they are closed energetically. They are closed. So even if the healing is going to be, in any case, effective, their experience will be limited.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
And it's important because in healing, it's also the experience. Because if you don't feel it, you almost don't believe it. Right? Healing happens regardless that you believe it or not. Okay? But because we do have a human mind, a logical mind,
gets us into trouble sometimes. Yeah,
exactly. So if we don't feel it, it's like, oh, nothing works. I don't know why, but nothing works. But I do feel better, right?
Yeah.
So it helps. It helps more the person, definitely.
That's interesting too, because I know that especially in the science world, right? People love to prove everything, but even science has proven that there is this energy field, and the quantum physics and all of that stuff, where it's fascinating, right? That, it does exist. We are all this, massive energy emitting a frequency constantly. So I think it really is very important to start checking in with some of our thoughts that we're having throughout the day, because we will continue to attract that experience, that same vibrational frequency, right? So
absolutely.
Really important to monitor that, I think, throughout. Now we're going to take a break here on the Mindset Mentor. We will be back with more talk on energy healing with my special guest, Geraldine Monaco. She is a master Reiki healer and so much more. We're going to talk about that when we come back after this break. Stay tuned. And welcome back to the Mindset Mentor. I'm Tania Kolar. Today's show, we're discussing energy healing and how we can really help to realign the body and experience that optimal health. I mean, there was one time that we all felt, this wonderful being. We came into this world as perfect little beings. And then life happens and stress happens, overwhelm, and the layers of emotion and stress and trauma they build. Now, all of that gets stored into the body. So I'm going to check in with my guest today. She is a Reiki, actually, Reiki practitioner as well. Yes, Geraldine, as well as being a master energy healer. Is that correct? You do Reiki?
Yes, I've been trained in Reiki. I don't
Yeah.
really practice, but then we can dive
Okay. Yeah. So
into that.
interesting because we talked about how, the energy healing work that you do is hands off, as so is
Hmm.
Reiki. So I think there is that synergy, right? For
Yeah.
sure,
Hmm.
amongst all of that. So let's just delve right back into the conversation and talk a little bit more about, what you do, because you do have a holistic approach to
Yeah.
your healing. And so what exactly does that holistic approach look like?
Well, first of all, I tend to focus, well, my strength is the physical and emotional healing,
Mm,
primarily like physical and some emotional. Okay. I also have, a company with my husband, and his approach is more um, emotional slash mental.
okay.
Okay. So
Okay.
this is basically the major difference because, um, and when I'm talking about holistic, and I talk about, we discuss when someone come and see me, we discuss, the physical issue that the person has, my seeing of what I see the issue is.
Mm-hmm.
And again, give feedback could be even just sensing some type of supplements versus others, sensing some lack of nutrients or minerals in their body. A lot of time people just come to me with a pack with a bag full of supplements and vitamins, and I test energetically if those supplements or remedy work on their body or not. Okay. So, and of course, it's energy healing opens up. So naturally the people start to open up with me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's almost like it's a counseling session.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when, when I started my practice many, many years ago, I introduced this concept of spiritual counseling. And I think it's extremely important because it's not really me who does the whole thing. It's more the information that I receive, right?
Mm.
So the spiritual counseling is something that is it's a mix between all my teachings that I had, all my practice, my spiritual practice that I've had for the past 23 years, with higher guidance that comes through.
Mm. Wow. So I want to talk about how you actually got into, the world of healing.
Aha, that's an interesting story because it's the last thing I wanted to do in my life.
Wow. and this many years later, you're still doing it.
Here
Interesting.
we
Yeah.
go. No, because I come from Italy, and my parents were entrepreneur, right? So I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I had my own business, and I didn't want to have anything to do with healing or psychic stuff. It was just not my thing.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I've always felt something growing up. I always had the sixth sense, but I
Mm-hmm.
always neglected, right?
Yep. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, and when I moved to Canada in 99, it was actually liberation for me. And I said, oh, finally I can have my own business, which I started to do, but it was a total disaster after.
Oh, no.
It was a disaster. So
Okay.
I had a company, I bankrupted the company. It was totally a mess. And then, I said, maybe I should really open up to what I'm supposed to do in life.
Oh, that's a good lesson right there. Mm-hmm.
It's a major lesson, but that comes with a lot of insecurity, a lot of, are you sure you want to do this? A lot of like everybody was saying, I
Uh-huh.
don't think so. I don't,
Yeah, a little
but
bit of
then I
fear.
started, exactly. But then I started to open up. And then the mystical part is I met a lady, and for quite some time, our paths were pretty close. And then we took apart, as life sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
that's the course of life. And she was, among other things, a medium, and she told me that I was a healer. So you can imagine my surprise, and I said, I don't think so. And then and then through her channeling, a lot of everything started to make sense.
Mm.
And it was and my biggest teaching comes from them. The spirits that, my spirit guides that were coming through, they actually taught me every step of the way. And I said to myself, I said, okay, if this is something that I'm supposed to do, I'm not going to do any marketing. I'm not going to engage my mind. I want things just to happen.
To be in that natural flow.
Exactly. And this is how it happens.
Hmm.
So it started more like, word of mouth, and then started to become, different. And then I really embrace it. But of course, I do have a rational mind. So I said, okay, it's very nice what they're saying, but I need to study. so that's why I started to, to study Reiki, pranic healing, Barbara Brennan, magnetism, spiritual healing, which is more the type of healing that I'm doing, by the way, versus Reiki. And everything started to make a logical sense. And for me, that was important.
That's so interesting because it's really reflective of your experience is very reflective of what others experience in that resistance. We hold back. We don't want to move forward on something because it maybe is taking us out of our comfort zone of what feels familiar, the fear. If I try this, what's going to
Absolutely.
happen? So it's really key to say, all right, let's tap in and see if it feels good, right? So for you, and in the world of energy healing, have you used any kind of like muscle testing to see if something feels right or if it's a right decision in a particular case?
No, the way I work is always by vibration, and everybody can either. I mean, some people have a knack for it, so it just comes naturally. Other people you need to train, but everybody can access, right? It's just a matter of centering ourselves and feel whatever the experience we are experiencing. And I gave workshop on how our body talks to us, because every experience that we encounter, if we pay attention, our body tells us exactly if it could be a good experience or not.
Before the experience happens.
Before the experience happens.
Got it. Okay.
And sometimes, even if when we don't know exactly which direction to take, I always say to people, okay, try to envision yourself going through that path. How your body feels. How do you feel it? Do you feel tense? Do you feel relaxed? You feel nervous, or you feel, oh, finally, right? And that is that is your answer. And that is the answer that comes from your higher self, because the body never lies. You cannot lie a feeling of unwhelm in your body, a feeling of tightness, a feeling of joy. It just comes. So it's a matter of putting yourself in a position of feeling the vibration of your own life, a feeling of vibration of an object, feeling of vibration of what you're eating. Sometimes, you go to the grocery and you have a pile of fruits. I say, I don't know what I want to eat. How are you feeling if you're approaching the oranges versus how you're approaching the apples? Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
I totally do, because I know for myself too. It's like when I have that craving for, chocolate or, junk food, it's like I know when I'm reaching for that, it doesn't feel good and I do it anyway. Not all the time, but I know, and I know that when I eat it, I'm not going to feel great after. And so we get stuck sometimes in those cycles. And I do believe, as you say, that we do know everything. We know everything. We make choices. choose either to listen or to resist, right? But I think it is important to tap into just those little things, because it's how we do the little things is really how we do everything. And if we make those small changes, it can really have a dramatic improvement in your overall well-being, right? Whether, again, that's physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, and really everything's all interconnected anyways, wouldn't you say?
Yes, absolutely. Someone recently labeled me as a practical healer.
Mm-hmm.
And I never thought about it, but actually, she's right. Because, when someone goes to a healer, they always have this expectation of, oh, mystical experience, psychic stuff. Yeah, that's a minimum part. But the practicality of you going to a healer is because you can take something out of that person and make it your own. So it has to be practical. So whatever makes you feel good, just try to access that vibration. Whatever it feels right for you, try to access that vibration, right? It's the practicality. It's sometimes people come to me and say, yeah, but I don't know what I want to do. Can you give me some insight in the future? I say, no, I don't read the future, because everybody has a free will, right? So everything can change at a specific time. But you know how you feel if you're thinking about that opportunity versus the other opportunity.
So,
now, the problem is to accept what you are feeling, because a lot of time what you are feeling is not what you want.
yeah, exactly. Well, that was going to be my question to you. So if you have thoughts and then you have feelings, which one is going to win the battle?
Feelings.
The feelings always win, right?
Feelings come from your higher self. It's wisdoms. It's infinite wisdom. Thoughts comes from your mind, because we do have a physical body, so we need a rational mind just to process our own reality, right? But the feeling, it's all about feeling. And it took me a while just to accept that. So, I understand the difficulties that some people have, because I've been there, and still I am sometimes in that, difficulties of saying, yes, but my mind says something.
Yeah, it runs on overdrive, right?
It's like, but it is normal. That's a constant battle, right?
Yeah.
How do I feel versus what I think? And the majority of the time when we allow ourselves to be in the feeling, we are going to experience what I call a vibrational match. When it's just click and just makes sense.
That beautiful, perfect, universal source energy, that flow, where everything is easy and it's not such a struggle, or it's not a battle. I think we get caught up these days in having to do more, be more, work harder. But sometimes it's more important to be still, to do less, and then just to help to, rebalance and align your frequency so that that right energy can be drawn to you, so that you're more open to that experience of what wants to come in and what you also want to come in.
Absolutely. Because, we are all busy, right? We do have an hectic life. Okay. But the more we surf into the craziness of life, the more we attract the craziness in our own life. Right. So as you said, we need to step back and be in the awareness of the moment. Okay. We always said you don't need to work hard, you need to work smart. Okay. But the working smart means working in a state of stillness. Because when we are in the state of stillness, we are open. Our energetic field is open. And when we are open, we vibrate at higher frequencies. And those frequencies bring us what we want. And that we experience the synchronicity. This is when we experience the magic in our own life. Okay.
Yeah, I love that. So I'm just thinking, as you were talking about that, what about your sleep patterns? Does the amount of sleep or the quality of your sleep affect your energy field as well?
Yes, of course, it impacts. That's for sure. Now, in my case, and what I always suggest to people, the more time you spend in nature, the easier is for you to raise your vibration. Okay, so sometimes even me personally, I cannot sleep as much because I have to sometimes jump on my bed every time, or my son wakes me up in the middle of the night. But during those particular time, I try to find in nature time for me, because there's nothing more soothing and there's nothing more pure than go and hug a tree or put our fingers into the soil. That is Mother Nature who talks to us. The Mother Nature nurturing and grounding experience, which nourish our etheric body, especially, which is the first layer of our field, and bring us the joyful vibration and the calmer vibration.
So what about now when, it's a little bit colder outside, people don't want to go put their feet, out into the cold snow. Is it beneficial to still get outdoors?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. And again, you have to remember that energy works with intention. Intention equal consciousness. So the more you set your intention to maybe raise your frequency or ground the energy, the more you're sending signal to your energetic body to act upon it. So even if you go outside for 5 minutes, you can have a beautiful experience. Your energetic body can be nourished even with those 5 minutes.
So, and then that could be as simple as, instead of driving to the store, go for that, 5 or 10 minute walk, of course, depending on how far you live, how close you live. But it's important to see, like, how can we get a little bit more of that outdoor experience in, whether it's opening a window, that might even be enough sometimes. Just to move some of that stagnant energy, right, that gets locked indoors. And I think we all are feeling a little bit of pressure, feeling that we are locked. We don't have that same, freedom, because there's just not that many places to go these days, right?
Exactly. So, and I also suggest people to surround yourself with plants, indoor plants. So also because plants, as you mentioned something, they clear energy in spaces. And especially during this period that we're all living in right now during COVID, our energy can become pretty heavy staying indoor.
Yeah, and it's like it's interesting because obviously we all hold on to different emotions, thoughts, the trauma in the body. The body stores it, but I guess so does our home and our spaces. It's storing all that energy, and not just your energy, but other people who are in that space. So I know that's something that you actually offer as well. Like you do. Do you do home clearings?
Well, our company, my husband is specialized in space clearing. Okay, so I don't have the vibrational skills to do that, if that makes sense. But I sense the energy of the place.
Yeah, I think that's really key, because I think anyone, everybody at some point has experienced that moment where you walked into a room and you just feel that dark energy. It feels heavy. It doesn't feel good. And then there's also the opposite. You walk into a room that feels so wonderful and relaxed and comfortable and welcoming. So it's very clear, the difference.
Oh yeah, it is clear, and it's palpable. The moment you start to pay attention, again, it becomes very real. It is real, and not just only because I'm in this business, so it's easy for me to perceive, but for everyone, right? And simple steps as opening the windows, introducing more plants can help to ease up the stagnation.
Wow, I love that. All right, so we're going to take a break, and we're going to be back with more energy healing with Geraldine Monaco. Stay with us. We'll be back after this. And welcome back to the Mindset Mentor. I hope you're having an absolutely phenomenal day. And if it's not so phenomenal, we're going to help to change and shift your energy. On today's show, we're focusing on energy healing, your vibration, and how that affects really, everything, in your life and your day, because it's really all equated to your overall optimal health. And today, my guest is a master energy healer. Her name is Geraldine Monaco. She also has her practice, which is Geraldine Energy Healing. If you want to reach out to Geraldine, that's where you can find her. In fact, Geraldine, what's the website for everyone to reach you if they're looking to really get some help with shifting their energy and just overall well-being in terms of that physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health?
Well, I do have two websites. One is geraldinehealing.com, as you mentioned. And another one is our corporate website, which is biofieldmedical.com. And the reason why I mentioned the corporate website as well, because my husband and I have this practice together. Mm-hmm. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm focusing more on physical/emotional issue. He's focusing more on emotional, mental issues. And I have a lot of people who come or just request information for major mental issues. I'm talking about major depression, OCD, post-traumatic disorder. So it was important for us to combine the two practices into one to give a broader, range of services.
Well, it sounds like you and your husband have that perfect synergy and that balance. We talked about synergy earlier and how important that is, right? With the energy. So I love that, and I think it's nice to be able to have the options of where people are at, because everybody experiences stress and trauma differently. Yeah. So it's nice to be able to have those options. So let's dive a little bit deeper into trauma and how trauma is stored in the body. It's like those aches and pains that we experience in the body can be that little SOS, help to say, listen, pay attention. There's something going on here that needs to be alleviated.
Yeah. Yes. Now, and I give you an example. And there was a woman recently who came to visit me, and she's a woman in her late 40s. Okay, she's been struggling for maybe 30 years with hip pain and spinal cord pain, to the point where sometimes she's barely able to get out of bed. She's this woman. I mean, she's a European woman, and she went to all the top doctors in Europe, and nobody could find anything, because there was absolutely nothing in her physical condition that could explain the tremendous pain that she was going through. So when she came, first of all, she was one of those women who was very skeptical.
Yeah.
Whatever. I've been to so many people, nothing happens. Yeah. And it's totally exactly. Mm-hmm. But she came with an open attitude. And the reason why I'm saying this, because every time she was going to someone, she was not ready to embrace her healing. So the result that she had were very minimum. Mm-hmm. When she came to me, I think she was probably at the bottom line. She was at the bottom line. So they said, okay, either this or I don't know what to do anymore. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, and what I've noticed in her energy field on the back of the second chakra, which is this energy center that is, the belly button area, as a front and then the back. Okay. Everything that happens in the back of the chakra, generally speaking, relates to our past. Not just only in this lifetime, but in the previous lifetime as well, right? Interesting. So this woman, I was working on her second chakra and also first chakra, and an image of her past life came through. This woman was actually crushed by a truck when she was little in a previous lifetime. She didn't lose her life, but she was just paralyzed for all that life experience. The moment we cleared that energetic connection, the pain started to dissipate. 3 months later, she's pain-free.
Wow. And she had that pain for, you said 30 years. Was it 30 years?
More than 30 years.
Wow. It is fascinating how the body, can hold on to, past life trauma as well. I was reading recently a book that was talking about transgenerational epigenetic inheritance, right? Which is exactly that. I believe they had said it's like three generations where you're not only, inheriting limiting beliefs and thought patterns from, parents, ancestors, but you're actually inheriting their trauma as well. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree with that. The problem is we inherit a trauma because when we come into this world, we feel the trauma of, for example, our parents. Again, healing, it's about vibration. It's a conscious and unconscious vibration. So if the person in front of us hasn't dealt with their traumas, we pick it up, their vibration, at an unconscious level. And when from the unconscious level become conscious, because life brings us experiences that, brings the same maybe event or something similar, we start to experience the same thing as our parents, our, ancestors, etc. So it's all about conscious and unconscious. It's all about vibration, because the vibration of your body, my body, everybody's bodies goes beyond what we could possibly think and perceive.
Well, absolutely fascinating stuff. I love this. Now, so when you're dealing with somebody who has picked up a trauma from someone else, is it a longer process, or can you also be able to quickly move that energy?
Well, there are different variables here involved, because if the person is still in the person life, that is a bit more, it's a deeper process, because the person keeps almost like still feeding from the other person's energy, so it keeps recreating the trauma, right? But if we're talking about a trauma with someone, for example, who was his or her experience like 20 years prior, that's different, because the person is already out of the picture.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like a relationship, right? I mean, you can heal better from a relationship when you're completely out of it, not when you have one foot in the door still, right? And you're back and forth, back and forth.
Exactly. But also because sometimes I have, people here who come to say, oh, can you clear my husband? Can you just clear the energetic cord between me and my husband? I can, but I cannot do it. And the reason why, I do have the permission just only to work on you.
Got it. Oh,
I don't have the higher permission to work on somebody else without their own consent. I can clear the cord until a certain point, but then energetically, I see almost like a curtain that comes in. It's almost like written private area.
Yeah, do not cross this line.
Do not cross the line. Exactly.
Yeah, that's really interesting. But I think it's more importantly, it really speaks to the fact that we have to take care of our own healing. Worry about yourself first before you try to change everybody else, right? Everyone thinks that it's the world, everyone else around us, it's their problem, and they're the reason why I can't do this or feel this, right? But really, it's we have that power.
Yeah, but also because when we change, our environment change.
Yes.
There is a beautiful Buddhist concept, which is called Eshofuni, which means the oneness of our own reality with the environment.
Beautiful. Wow.
So when we change, the environment changes. When we change, the universe changes. Sometimes we say to ourselves, how can I make a difference? Start with your own self. And then it's a ripple effect, right? So it's always like back to us. We cannot escape. We need to do the work.
Exactly. Yeah, we can't get out that easy, right?
Oh my God, too bad.
So funny. Now I have a quick question before we go because we're basically out of time. So in terms of experiencing and having energy healing done, can we do that remotely now that we're sort of in this lockdown, or do we have to physically come in to get that healing work done?
Oh, I've always worked remotely even before COVID.
Really? Okay,
So
interesting.
it's exactly the same thing. It's
Hmm.
exactly the same thing.
Hmm.
So it's just energy, right? It goes through time and space. So when I generally do, I connect with the person via Zoom or Skype, whatever they prefer, or even telephone, and I do the healing. The benefits are exactly the same, and the person feels exactly the same.
Hmm.
Okay. Remember, energy travel. This is a physic concept. It's not spirituality. It's just energy travels
Hmm. Yep.
through time and
Absolutely.
space.
Hmm.
So
Beautiful.
it's exactly the same thing. I mean, some people prefer to come to visit me here, at the office, and others just they want to stay in bed,
Yeah.
and it's totally fine for me.
Yeah, that works, right? Absolutely. I love that. All right. And what is your website again if anybody would like to reach out and contact you, Geraldine?
So I have geraldinehealing.com. This is number one. And then they can go and check biofieldmedical.com as well.
Awesome. All right. Well, listen, I want to thank you so much for joining me here today on the Mindset Mentor. We certainly learned a lot. And thank you for raising our vibration and energy so that we can, get through our days a little happier, feeling, better, and really focusing on our optimal health. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. That was a pleasure. Thank you.
Likewise, likewise. Well, everyone, that is a wrap for today's The Mindset Mentor. And make sure that you continue to work out your mindset. Your mindset is equated to absolutely everything, and it does affect your day, and it certainly affects your energy field. So we want that energy field to really work with us, and let's be open and allow those miracles to drop in, right, as they naturally do when we are open to receiving them. So enjoy your miracle day today, and I will talk to you next Saturday at 11 a.m.